Welcome back, everyone, to the HNL Movement podcast. This is going to be a great episode. So much experience that this guy's going to share. And we have Ivan Flores today on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Good to be here.
So give me some backstory. We knew each other briefly because you had rotator cuff repair, right? Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. But, as someone that is a striking coach, uses your arms, shoulders a lot, it's very important that you regain that strength. So that's how we first met each other. And from there, just rehabbing. And then I've seen kind of all the people that you've helped with. I've helped some of your students, after injuries and all of that. So there's a history here, and there's so many great things I think that you do that we're going to dive into today. So before we get started, why don't you share a little bit about your backstory? Kind of what it was like growing up and how you got into what you're doing today, right? It probably started when you were young and, getting into martial arts.
Oh man, getting old. Gotta think way back. But I grew up on Maui. I was born here, lived in Makakila for a little bit with my grandparents. And then I moved over to Maui with my parents. And so I consider myself a Maui boy. Outer Island boy, whatnot. I always was into martial arts. I think growing up, I've always been a fan of things like Kung Fu theater, watching those movies and whatnot. Huge Bruce Lee fan, of course. He was super influential to me. But I think I would say when the movie Kickboxer came out with Jean-Claude Van Damme, that was a big deal for me. That was a huge deal for me. Very influential. And the funny thing is I tell people is when the movie ever comes up is that I didn't really want to be like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Okay.
Like Tong Po was a man. I was like, he was a villain and everything, but I was like, man, this guy's kicking a concrete pillar. This guy is straight up headbutting, elbowing and whatnot. This thing was devastating. So I guess that's where I thought, I wanted to be able to do everything. I always been in love with striking and whatnot. But then I kind of funneled into like, hey, what's this art, Muay Thai? And always wanted to do martial arts and whatnot. But growing up, it was just tough. I'm the oldest out of 4 siblings. There's a huge gap between all of us. So I was, for a large part, responsible for them. Just helping around the house, helping out the family and whatnot. We definitely come from humble means, which, nothing I would ever change because humble means equals greater strength and character development, what I mean? And that's a whole nother thing I can go off on mindset.
Yes, we'll touch on that too. So when did you actually get started with either Muay Thai or some type of martial arts when you were younger?
I want to say in high school, I started boxing around sophomore and junior year, where I actually went to a boxing gym. And it was a neighborhood gym because it was free, so I could go. You know what I mean? And when I went there, it was kind of as a backup sport. I played football, basketball, those things like that. But I still was one of those guys that I always wanted to be training. In my mind, I was like, man, when I saw other guys that didn't train, I was like, I wanted to be the guy that trained when they weren't training. So I always ran a lot, so it just fit well. And we had to run before practice in boxing and so forth. And, it was good. It was good, but it was one of those things where what I learned out of it was that I could take a punch and I could give one. My first day in class. It was in a class. We wrapped our hands with some old hand wraps that was previously used on the wall. Right? We wrapped our hands, put on somebody's old gloves. And we had full-blown gym wars. Wow. That was my first day. Didn't learn how to do anything, but just had banger sessions. And I was like, okay, is this boxing? You know what I mean? So I think the wheels started turning. I started to train wherever I could with whoever I could that I knew practiced. I touched into various different martial arts and whatnot. But when I turned 18, once I graduated high school, I flew up to Oahu for 2 weeks with a friend of mine. I was kind of at a crossroads at that point. I was at one point, I wanted to see if I could, get to like a junior college or something like that, and just try out football, maybe, or something. And I was also on the phone with a Marine Corps recruiter. So I was really close to being set to signing and leaving. You know, and then the third part, whereas I had this dream, I wanted to fight professionally.
Okay.
You know, and I was like the crazy one. Nobody really understood what I was talking about growing up, and I thought I was kind of nuts. You know, I was the elementary school kid that I was trying to convince everyone that I was going to be a real ninja. You know, so I guess I wasn't really afraid to dream. But I graduated, moved up here I visited up here for about 2 weeks, went back home, and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I think I'm gonna move, and I wanna go for this thing. I wanna fight.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just kind of like a shock. You know, they thought I was gonna find a job back in Maui and maybe go to community college, whatever it is and stuff. But yeah, I picked up a couple weeks later, packed all my stuff, whatever money I had saved from doing side jobs. Came up here and started my journey immediately. Yeah.
That is a crazy story. So to backtrack and you can fill in some of the gaps, but so football. You played football primarily, you know, or that was one of the big sports, right? Yeah. So did you play football all the way from like Pop Warner time?
No, I didn't. I only played football in high school, and actually only for my sophomore year. I wanted to play before that, but I could never commit to team sports because I was the oldest sibling.
Got it.
So I was taking care of siblings, doing chores at home, all this sort of stuff. So I just couldn't ever commit to a practice, you know. So I was like, I tried so hard to. I was like, Mom, please, I really want to go, you know. I want to play football so bad, but once I got in, I tried to ball as hard as I could, man. It was a good 3 years.
Do you think, and I know you train a lot of different, you know, fighters or athletes from different backgrounds.
Sure.
But do you think that football aspect helped you in some way as you started your career in fighting?
Definitely. Definitely, 100%. I think already, because, you know, I went to Baldwin, and when I graduated, we were like basically athletic school of the state. We had the female and male athletes of the year and whatnot. So we were doing really, really well. But we came from a hard program at that time. We played two sides of the ball, and no matter how good you did, you could always do better, kind of thing, you know. So I think when I transferred to martial arts and I trained to compete, one, I already had a good athletic base. I was in great shape. I was strong. I was very, very fit. But I think I already had developed a lot of grit. You know, from practicing and just holding myself accountable, you know, so it was a great base.
What position did you play in football?
I played free safety and tailback, but they had me on kickoff, name it, everything.
I can imagine how, you know, just your fitness level and just building that base. And I mean, it is a collision sport, so
for sure,
different than fighting, but you know, you learn how to take impact.
100%.